All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to this week's live interview in the Grow Your Midterm Rental Business group. Each week, I'm going to be interviewing midterm rental hosts from across the country to talk about everything to do with midterm rentals, rental arbitrage, co-hosting, and real estate in general. We already have some really amazing guests lined up for the next upcoming weeks, and we are especially blessed to have an awesome guest lined up for today. Today, we have Mark Palmeire. Mark is the owner of West Coast Homestays, and he is a short-term, midterm rental expert. He's located in San Diego, California, and he manages over 24 luxury properties. Mark started off with Arbitrage back in 2021. He was actually able to quit his W-2 job just a year and a half later. He's super passionate about everything to do with short-term and mid-term rentals, and specifically with taking underperforming and poorly managed listings and redesigning them and turning them into top performers in the market. Mark's story is a display of just taking the leap and having faith and achieving success. So Mark, with that being said, thanks so much for being on here today.
Thank you, Christian. That's an awesome intro. Appreciate that.
Dude, you deserve it, man.
I can hear that every morning when I wake up. That'd be awesome.
You're right. Dude, you and I think, are pretty interesting because we've known each other for maybe 2 years now, I think. And I think that when we met, we've kind of clicked and really just hit it off because for a couple of reasons. One, you're from Rochester, New York originally. I'm from Buffalo, so we're both Western New Yorkers, so we're cut from the same cloth in that way. And then I think just because we're of the same, just kind of young, hustler, motivated dude. So I think that we just click, and you're a cool man. So thank you again for being on. And
dude.
Hopefully your girlfriend should be giving you, or your fiance should be giving you an intro every morning like that.
Yeah, right. No, yeah, I was gonna say, I feel we met a few years ago, and like you said, the upstate New York connection, but similar businesses, similar hustler mindset and go-getter. So love talking with you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, dude. No, it's a pleasure. So, like I mentioned, you are currently managing 24 luxury properties in San Diego. Is that correct?
Yeah, and excuse me, I'm getting over a sickness. I'll have cough drops and stuff, and excuse the coughing. But yeah, 24. So we just signed a bunch. So right now, I think 15 are live. We're trying to get the other 7 or so, or however many left live. But yeah, so we're kind of on board as fast as we can. Some of them we're still fixing up, furnishing, and all that. But yeah, 24 under management. So super excited about that.
That's huge.
All San Diego, greater San Diego area, and then a couple in San Clemente. So we're starting to move a little out of San Diego, which is exciting as well.
Amazing. Very cool. And the properties that you manage, what do they look like? Are these mostly 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom houses, or are there any particular amenities that you guys are focusing on, or what do you got going on?
Yeah. So yeah, I think majority of our properties are 3-bedroom and up, 3-4 bedrooms. We do have some 2-bedroom properties, but just from a time sake, I try to do properties that are gonna gross a lot more higher in revenue, so it's kind of more worth time. I was never of the mindset of getting all these 1-bedrooms that I wouldn't make as much money on, and it kind of diluted our service. I really wanted to focus on have these bigger properties, get more returns, so I could just focus on a smaller amount of properties. That was just my personal preference. So we focus on 3 bedrooms and up, targeting families, which usually I think Airbnb and short-term rentals, families are a great audience to target, because you're not really competing with hotels as much, because the reason why people book Airbnbs is because they don't want to book 3 hotel rooms. They want a kitchen, they want a living room, they want a backyard to be all with their family. So I like to hit the 3-4 bedrooms and up to target that audience. And then you ask kind of what amenities. It's really depending on the market, but San Diego, pools are phenomenal, especially close to the beach. If you can get a pool, I focus on those. But for the most part, I just try to look for really nice remodeled homes, luxury type homes, because it creates that experience. I've done this long enough where I had the crappy properties, and it just made for bad reviews, bad guest experiences. And I can talk about some of those that kind of changed my mindset. But my kind of mission statement now with my company is if I can't send my grandma or my mom or my dad to the place, then I'm not going to manage it. And it just makes for a way better experience because, I can sell the property too, right? I'm like passionate. If someone's like, hey, do you have anything in Mission Beach? I'm like, oh yeah, I have this sweet spot, 3-bedroom house. It's beautiful. You'll love it. Like I believe in it, and it just makes for a better sales process too. So I think that's really important to me, is make sure it's a place I would send my own family to. And if it's not for me.
Yeah, dude, that makes a ton of sense. So basically it's just houses that you would want to stay in yourself.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Because how can you sell something you don't want to stay in?
Yeah, no. Seriously, that makes sense. And dude, it's like when, often when you have like a higher quality listing, you also do get like a higher quality guest. I believe.
That's for sure.
A lot of times, if you have like a super cheap budget stay, you're also going to attract a certain type of clientele too that also might not respect your place the same as the luxury.
100%.
So that's cool. And so I know you do kind of like a mix of like short-term and midterm rentals. You kind of do some sort of like hybrid strategy. Do you prioritize between your listings? Like, do you prioritize midterms over short terms? Do you have some properties that are more designated for midterm and some that are more designated for short term? Or how does that work?
Yeah. So majority of ours are set up for short term, which I think creates a really good midterm strategy because they're well designed, really good photograph, having awesome amenities. There's one right now that we're flipping to strictly midterm because just based on the property, it was kind of further away. It incurred a lot of expenses on the short term side that it made more sense to have a more midterm strategy in it. So we'll decide based on just kind of like the property type. But for the most part, we run them all short term and then just try to prioritize when a midterm comes in to put them in there if it makes sense. Usually our summers, I try to not do as many midterms because that's like our high season in San Diego, right? That's where we're going to make the most amount of money. But as soon as like September 1st hits, I would try to get as many of those into midterms because it's like, you're hitting your slower season when you go into like the January and February. So you're doing a lot of work running it short term, not making as much money or might be losing money. So it makes sense to try to get some of those midterms in that, are going to pay you more than you would have ever made in a short term.
For a slow season.
But, I'm starting to change my mindset, just getting more into the midterm. It's like I just accepted a really large midterm contract in one of our places, for May, June, and a little bit into July, but it's because the booking is so big that it's like it makes sense.
I saw your post on that. Could you tell us a little bit about
that was a different one. We just got another one I'll post about, but that one was it was funny. We were setting it up for the owner. We literally didn't even have professional photos done yet and had a midterm lead come in, which was perfect, right? Because you have nothing to worry about the calendar or anything like that. Like, you can host them right away.
Well, you even had it listed. You had that.
Yeah. So we had it ready to go. It was right near their house. They came in. The dude was super excited. He's like, this is perfect. So we got them in October for like 13 grand a month. And we would have never made 13 grand a month in October, November, December, January. And now it's extending into like the summer months. So now it's been almost 8 months. It's like $100 grand contract now.
That's crazy.
With no management, right? It's short term, there's a lot of management, but midterm, it's like you collect a check from the insurance company, so not even from the tenant.
Yeah.
I think we've reached out to them just a couple times, see how they're doing, but they don't need anything. They can kind of take care of themselves. As you know, in the midterm, it's a little less management. So I love that because, when you look at your P&L at the end of the month, it's like I made this and I did this. It's like it's a lot.
Yeah.
To see you're like not working as hard and still like solving a need, right? These people like need housing. They're grateful for the housing. Their house flood, their house burned down. So it's cool that you're helping those people. So the other one I'll post about this week had one. It was a family of 7. This dude had 5 girls. He's like working his butt off at his job and like he's just getting like thrown around by his insurance company, like can't find housing. And so we got in contact with him, talked to him, got him in one of our places, and he's going to stay till July 12th, which is like starting to get into our high season, but they're paying like $15,500 a month, which is amazing. I mean, in May, I wouldn't have made that. In June, looking at my numbers last year, I wouldn't have made that. July, we would have, but when you kind of look at the profit you make in May and June, it makes sense. And it's like that property's now taken care of. I don't have to manage it. There's no expenses going to that. Now I can move on to another property that I'm setting up, scaling, all of that. So I like to kind of have those hybrids in because it helps on your management stress.
That's huge. 15,000 for one property is crazy. That for me is at least, because I'm in Buffalo. I'm in a cheaper market, and a lot of my properties are more. I have lots of studio apartments. They're nice. They're newly updated. They're renovated. They're not large 4-bedroom homes with pools in San Diego. So when you say 15,000 for one property, I'm like, dude, that's at least 5 properties.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
incredible.
More properties, more headaches, more management stress for sure, like more expenses and all that. But yeah, that was just always my mindset of focusing on the big fish because you get more out of them, and then it's less properties I have to manage.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a perfect property for a midterm rental because 4-bedroom, 3 full baths, it can fit his family. This dude it's him and his wife, and he's got like 5 girls. So he's like, dude, I need something now. We're in a hotel for the last month.
Oh my gosh, the poor guy.
Yeah, and so they couldn't find anything too, so that can also increase the price of your home because it's more valuable. So that kind of helped us get that budget as well.
Wow. And are those properties that you're co-hosting or arbitrage?
So the $100,000 one was a co-host one. This one is an arbitrage one, which is awesome because my rent's only like $5,000 on it.
Wow.
So super.
Wow.
Exciting.
So
Yeah.
you're renting it for $5,000, and you got a contract for $15,000 for 2 months. You said, right?
2 months, yeah, and hopefully they extend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Bro.
Yeah. So we're super excited.
What other expenses do you have? Your rent's $5,000. You have utilities as well.
Yeah, utilities can be like anywhere, like depending on the summer, could go up to like $500. We got pool care, so that's another $150, $160. You got garbage, water, pest control,
Okay,
things like that, and then running all your software.
That's like full service. So when you're arbitraging these larger properties, you're providing like that full service. Like you're the one taking care of.
That's like our pitch to the owners is like we're paying them to manage their property. So it's like we're taking care of the lawn care, we're taking care of the pest control, we're taking care of the pool care. Any maintenance things under like a certain threshold, we're gonna take care of. So I'm cleaning out the pool filter, I'm tuning up the mini splits, painting the place, like fixing any issues in the house. So yeah, we that's a great contract, but to the owner, we're still benefiting them by taking really good care of their house.
Right. Yeah, you're taking care of all the headache from them, and
exactly.
Like most people don't know how to get these types of insurance contracts and stuff. So like that's a common question I get sometimes is like, why wouldn't a landlord just do it themselves? Dude, most landlords don't have the time, energy, and know-how to be able to go out and get these types of contracts and to be able to make that type of revenue from the property. So that's
exactly. And on that point, I think the other thing is people are like, why don't landlords short-term rent their properties? The same thing when we were arbitraging. They're like, why wouldn't they just Airbnb it themselves? One, it's the time, but two, they're in residential real estate, and it's a different game. Like when you're in short-term, this is hospitality now, right? So it's like if the dishwasher isn't working, like for instance, we had one of our fridges isn't working for a midterm rental yesterday. Like we had it fixed yesterday when they told us. Like, do you know any property management companies that are going to fix something same day? They don't. They'll take a week to fix it. And they're not going to survive in that business. So that's something that, is kind of like you can overcome that objection is that like this is hospitality. It's totally different from residential real estate. You really got to be on your A game. You got to really take care of these people because they're paying a lot of money, and it's this hospitality. That's kind of like our brand that we're going to take care of you. And when issues arise, we're going to fix it right away.
And one thing I don't think people appreciate enough is like just the time and energy that you individually have spent to learn everything about like Airbnb and to be able to like manage it at a professional level. Like, dude, I'm sure if you're like me, which I know you are, like you're constantly watching videos, you're constantly educating yourself, you're probably taking courses, you're having conversations, you're attending events, live events, and doing all this stuff. Most people, like a traditional landlord, they're not committing that same level of
100%
commitment to be able. It's like, dude, it just makes if you're gonna commit to the Airbnb thing and just do it at a professional level, it just makes sense to let the professional do it as opposed to, because Airbnb is no longer what it used to be, where anyone could just throw a property on and just start getting a ton of bookings.
It's much more. They've made it so easy to list your property that anyone can do it, but there's a difference between like the average operator and the professional one. Like you said, I mean, we're always meeting up at conferences, spending money on courses, masterminds. The amount of money I've spent on courses this year is absurd, but I'm always trying to educate myself, get better, and be like a top tier operator for sure.
No, that's huge, dude. So I know you're doing a mix of arbitrage and co-hosting. You don't own any property, right?
Not yet. Nope.
Okay, so all arbitrage and co-hosting. What is your mix of those two strategies? Are you doing mostly co-hosting, mostly arbitrage?
Yeah, we've kind of like made a pivot last fall to do more co-hosting. So right now, I think of the portfolio of the 24, 9 are arbitrage, and the rest are co-hosting.
Okay.
Reason being is just it's faster to scale, especially when you're doing these 4-bedroom houses. It's like be anywhere to 15, 20 grand to furnish one. And you got to put first month's rent. Obviously, it's cheaper than buying the place, but it's a big upfront cost that you got to pay off all that money. And sometimes like 6 months to break even, then 6 months of profit. Like versus co-hosting, right? You can get right into it and start profiting right away. And sometimes like these ones we're taking on, like we're going after Vacasa, Evolve type owners or poorly managed properties. So they're already furnished. They're already like ready to go. You just kind of come in, spruce them up, and then just start operating right away. So it's not really much upfront costs. So we've been kind of scaling that way. And with San Diego being regulated, these people already have licenses. So it's like, we can just go and piggyback off their license.
So basically, it sounds like the way that you're growing now is basically just by finding already people that are already doing short-term rentals, and they're being managed by like a larger management company like Evolve, and then basically you're stealing the business from Evolve or Casa.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say stealing. I think I'm saving them because these companies do such a bad job. I mean, to their credit, they're huge companies, right? So they can't. When you're at that large of scale, you can't take good care of, a single individual operator or individual property, right? It's like you're just a number on their list. Whereas me, it's like I only have 24. So like we really focus on every property, and that's my strategy. I don't want a million like 1-bedrooms. I want to have like solid properties, so it's just kind of like we can focus on all of them and give them all the attention they need. All these owners have my direct number. They can call me whenever they want. Like they're calling Vacasa, they're getting like a 1-800 number and they're on hold, or it's just not a good experience. So I would say it's definitely an easy sell when you get an owner that isn't having a good experience, because a lot of them aren't, and we're more boutique, so they definitely are more attracted to that.
Yeah, it sounds like your model is much more quality over quantity.
100%.
Just provide that like high level of customer service for each, both on the landlord side and also on the guest side as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're constantly. I mean, every review that comes in, we monitor, right? We're going through it. I'm having like my VAs go through every review, documenting it, writing like the feedback. If there's anything like an issue, we put it into like our issues board and we address it right away. Whereas like sometimes you look at a Vacasa listing, it's like they've complained about this uncomfortable bed 8 times and you guys haven't done anything about it. It's like we have an issue, we're going to solve it right away. It's kind of make sure that we can preserve that guest experience, make sure the property's in really good condition. So things like that. When you're smaller, you can do that, but my plan is to always keep that. We're gonna keep scaling. Like we're gonna get to more properties, but we'll never sacrifice quality when we do it, or service. Which have to increase our systems to do it.
That's amazing. Lorraine, I do see your question in the chat there. We'll get to all the questions at the end. At the end of this interview, we'll open it up for 15 minutes for all the live Q&A questions. So, Mark, well, tell me, what's next for you? Like, what's your main focus right now? What's your main focus right now?
Main focus right now is to keep scaling the management business. So doing a lot more, just gaining a lot more short-term rental customers, homeowners under management. So scaling San Diego, and then we want to start moving into other markets, in SoCal. So, up the coast, but we're, my fiance and I are big fans of like Lake Tahoe and places like that. So we want to have a presence out there. So that's kind of what we're eyeing right now, is to get out into Lake Tahoe. But the main goal is to start owning properties. So that's what we're really focused on, start owning properties. And we really want to, our few year goals to buy a boutique hotel. So that's what we're really focused on. We joined Mike Shorgan's mastermind on that to learn more about that, because just like the economy of scale, you get there, right? You have all 25 units all in one central location, right?
Building.
Yeah. Whereas like me, it's like I got properties all over town, and so it's like they're all in one spot. So it makes it kind of easier to manage in a way, and just the amount of money you can make on something like that is just astronomical. That it just kind of makes more sense to, with our mindset of like trying to do less than more, just focus on one big bit.
Yeah, that's super cool, and I've definitely been having the same thoughts too.
You're already kind of doing it, right? Because aren't a lot of your units in like a building?
And yeah, that's true. Because a lot of, I mean, I don't know if I'd call them boutique hotels, but I'm in a lot more apartment buildings.
Yeah.
And so for example, I have one apartment building where it's a 24 unit apartment building, and I currently rent 11 of those 24 units. I rent half the building.
Yeah.
Right?
So you're already doing it.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd call it. It's not exactly a boutique, but they're small studio apartments. It's a nice building. It's nice. It's updated. Its location is awesome. But they're just small, really small studio apartments. They're nothing. They're not. I wouldn't call them luxury, right? They're more just. They're affordable, and they work really well for my travel nurses. That building is literally 2 blocks away from the downtown medical campus. So it works really well for the travel nurses, and it works really well for like we have like medical students that come and do rotations and stuff, and they need to come and stay for usually 6 to 8 weeks. Or travel nurses are coming for 2 to 3 months.
No, bro, you got to give yourself more credit. I mean, you're running 11 units in one building. You're essentially running an operation of a boutique hotel. Like, definitely.
Yeah, I guess so in a way. Yeah. All is midterm though, not a short term. But
yeah, true. No. But and I love that strategy. Like what you do is because like you're building your business based on like your brand now. Like you have people coming back to you like, hey, like I need a place to stay in Buffalo for XYZ months or whatever. Like you're the guy now in your area for midterm rentals, which is phenomenal. You're not reliant on these OTAs, which I think for your listeners is super important. Like you want to build your own brand, have these reoccurring guests, and you're killing it. But,
yeah, and that's something I think having scale really helps be able to achieve. We're in the middle of right now furnishing 3 new apartments, and so once those ones are live, which those 3 will be live by May 15th, we'll be at 40 units, 40 active listings.
Awesome.
Yeah, most of them, again, I mean, about 25 of them are studio apartments, and then we've got a mix of 1 bed, 2 bed, 3 bed. And I have 1 4-bed home. But that's just to say, like, with that scale, dude, it gives you a lot more leverage to kind of like build those kind of relationships that you need. Like when I talk to people at ALD Solutions or
just corporate companies or anyone.
Companies. Yeah, we're getting corporate bookings now. Like we can kind of, say like, dude, we got 40 listings. What do you need? Here's what we got.
Yeah.
And also, so it just helps when you start to achieve that scale. Your brand, you can build that brand. And it's a lot easier to achieve that scale when you're doing arbitrage and co-hosting as opposed to buying individual properties. So that's been my strategy. But dude, I'm super interested in also, I want to dig in a little bit. We have a couple minutes left here. I want to dig in a little bit into your operations. Like what is your current team look like? What are you like doing on a day-to-day? Like how are you managing all this stuff? Because 24 luxury properties require, I mean, a lot of work. Like what you're providing each property when you said pool maintenance and whatever, lawn care and all that stuff. Like, dude, that's a lot going on. So what are your operations look like?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that's super important, is like having systems in place to manage all these properties. So, I mean, it comes down to like your tech stack. So we're using obviously like HostAway, stuff like that, Channel Manager to like push to all these platforms. But from an operations standpoint of like managing all of that, we use Notion. So we've kind of worked with a company and / developer to kind of cater it to our business. So we have systems in place for like every property. So like we have like tickers that go off on like when lawn care is, things like that. So we have like those vendors going out like on a routine every 2 weeks type of thing. We have like a proactive maintenance board where essentially like it's set based on like a timer. So every like X amount of months we do this, X amount of weeks we do this. So it goes that in that route. So like, for instance, like we'll deep clean it every, maybe like 6 to 7 times a year. And we'll kind of go through that ticker and they'll tell us when to do it. So we have like things like that so that it kind of keeps that flow going. So you don't have to think about it. It's like, all right, it's May 5th. We got to do all of our deep cleaning, fixing up the places, getting them ready for summer because, summer's coming. We got to make sure the HVAC technician comes out and cleans all the mini spits, cleans like out all the furnaces, tunes everything up. So having like a system like that, like a Notion, a Monday to kind of automate that type of stuff, super important. And then our team is, so we have 2 virtual assistants. So they're like guest service management and they're awesome. They're in the Philippines. So they manage all like the guest communication. So I really don't handle guest communication anymore. We're confident with them because they're phenomenal. Their customer service skills are better than mine, to be honest. They were trained, they worked at Airbnb, so they were trained by Airbnb, which is super important. And so they handle all of that. So we have like a ton of SOPs, right? So standard operating procedures of like how we want things done, like our documentation process for our properties, like for short term. It's just so much more in depth because someone that stays midterm, they're like, I don't know, just a different client. They can figure out how to like work a dishwasher, but when someone's staying 2 nights, they're asking like the dumbest questions. So like I have videos on everything, like how to use the dishwasher, how to use the washing machine, videos on how to get into the unit, videos of where the circuit breaker is, everything. So we have a whole in-depth documentation process for every property so that these people in the Philippines that have never been at the property and never will go to the property have this documentation process to help them so they can see like everything they need to know about the property, have like commonly asked questions for that property so they're able to manage it. So they kind of handle all guest services and anything virtual. So they'll be setting up listings, they'll be reaching out to vendors, coordinating all that. Because when you're one person doing all of it, it's not you can't. It's just too much. So they handle all of that, coordinating vendors, guest services, stuff like that. I still really manage the owners, but we're starting, like we use Open Phone, which allows you to create like multiple numbers. So we have like a number for guest services, a number for vendors, a number for owners. So, now we're kind of moving the owners over to the owner number and we'll start having like, everyone can use that number. So we'll start having the owners kind of reach out on that. And then we'll start training the VAs how to respond to them. So I think that'll be super helpful to us because sometimes owners are like, hey, I want to stay at the property this date. And it's like, I'm doing a million things. It's helpful just to have the VA kind of
have someone else block off the dates for you.
Yeah, anything. Or like if there's a mate, if I'm like, I'm getting married next month, I don't need like an owner calling me. Or like if the AC goes out and we need like approval to like, get it fixed because it's over $500, like I can't be the one involved in that. Like the team needs to be able to like have that relationship with the owner to ask for approval. So I think that's super important as you scale, is to like focus on taking yourself out of the business, not in a way of like telling the owners of like, hey, screw you, I'm not helping you. It's just more like I can't always be available, and like to be of service to you, we have to like work as a team and allow everyone on my team to like serve you. Because like if we can all get together, you're gonna get a better experience anyways. But like they all have my personal number. You have any issues, give me a call, type of thing. But so yeah, my team is 2 virtual assistants, and then I have 1 like area manager. Excuse me. And so she's like boots on the ground in San Diego. She's awesome. So she's, bopping to all the properties, doing inspections. If we got to meet a vendor at a property, she's doing that. If she needs to like check on something. She also kind of manages the vendors, keeping that relationship strong. So like making sure the cleaners are happy, the handymen are happy, things like that. And then if she's kind of like my second line of defense, right? The VA is going to take all the incoming issues from the guests. They're going to try to solve it the best they can. If they can't, they're going to kick it up to her and say like, hey, we have this issue. What should I do? And then she'll help them. So that really makes me that third line of defense so that I can kind of protect my time. And then by the time it gets to me, it's like it's already gone through that chain of command essentially.
Right. You only deal with the problems that are really
that need to be addressed. Something big, like if we have like the carbon monoxide issue in the middle of the night, stuff like that, I'll hear about that.
Sure.
Because I want to be involved in that, because we haven't really had that happen. So I like use it as like a training experience, right? I want to be like, all right, now let's create an SOP on this of like what exactly we should do now that this has happened. Like we had an SOP in place, but once it happens, you're like, all right, there's so many other things we could have done differently. So we always use those. We always use those like shitty situations as I'm like needing to train someone or make our business better, really.
That's huge. And then as far as like your cleaners, are you hiring like a third party cleaning service?
Yeah, so A few of our cleaners are in it, like 3 of our cleaners are individual cleaners, so they're just one person that handle like 1 to 3 properties each, and then we use cleaning companies for all the rest of them. But with cleaning companies, you got to be careful because sometimes they're just like a revolving door, right? They're going to send cleaner A, then cleaner B, then cleaner C. I don't like that. I don't, because it doesn't keep the consistency. If there's a stain on the couch and cleaner A misses it, cleaner B thinks it's always been there, and cleaner C doesn't do anything about it. So any cleaning company we onboard, we always tell them that we need the same cleaner cleaning every time, and most companies are cool with that, so that it stays that consistency. Obviously, they're going to train 3 people because someone's going to call in sick or can't be available, but we really want to make sure if we're using a cleaning company that it stays consistent and we use that same cleaner every time.
No, that's important that the cleaner knows your property intimately, right? So they know when something is wrong or something is
out of place or missing.
They know
the detail. Like, as you'll see with me, I'm super OCD in a way, and I really want things like in perfect order, and want to make sure if anything's out of place, we know about it, because it's just that attention to detail is important to me, right? Even like we had an owner complain about it from Vacasa, but he's like, I'd walk into the house and I'd turn on the light switch and like the lamp was unplugged. And like, if you complain about that, it doesn't sound like a big deal. Like, oh shit, we forgot to plug in the lamp. But it's like, what else are you missing? You can't even like make sure the lights are on. It's that attention to detail. And when a guest sees that too, it's just not a good first impression that like they come in, the light doesn't even turn on, or they turn on the TV and it's not connected to Wi-Fi. Like, yeah, it might not sound like a big deal. We can fix it, but it's just that first impression that just kind of goes to show that like, what else are these people missing? So that's just super important.
Those little things, they really do add up.
100%. You definitely do. So we're big on that. So having consistent cleaners really helps to make sure that that consistency is there.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, if you have any questions, now is time for the live Q&A. So go ahead, put in all your questions that you want to ask Mark or myself about anything to do with short-term or mid-term rentals. We're happy to start answering these questions for you and just be of service. And before we jump into that, if you want to learn more about growing your midterm rental business, whether it's through owning property, rental arbitrage, or co-hosting, I do have a super affordable coaching program. It's currently only $149 a month. We do weekly live Q&A calls every Saturday where you can ask me directly questions and specific to your business, and you'll also get access to over 80 video modules. My assistant is going to actually drop the link in the comments right now so that you can learn more about the program. And you can also schedule a free 15-minute call with me to see if the program's a good fit for you. I'm literally giving this program away right now. It's in beta, so we're just trying to get people in. And we've got I think about 10 students in there right now, and we've already got people like achieving big results. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So we've got some questions in the chat here. Lorraine says, I'm new to MTR, wondering how to price to get STR, filling in gaps until longer midterm gets booked. Would love to get some insights on this. So, okay, so she's basically asking a little bit about hybrid strategy.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you want to take it?
Yeah, I can help a little on that one. So essentially, like, it comes down to like, what's your, like, for instance, that one we have in El Cajon, like we're strictly doing MTR on it and then doing the hybrid STR when we need to. So it depends on like what your strategy is. If you're doing it short term, but like you want to get some midterms in there, what you're going to do. But like for us, since we do STR and then try to get those midterms in, you want to have like, use like a software like Price Labs where you can kind of control your calendar. And so like price your calendar in those like first couple weeks for short term, but then 30 days out, make it be like a 28-day minimum stay, and then price it for your midterm to kind of have like both strategies going at the same time is kind of the best way to do it.
Yeah, so exactly. How I do it is that, I mean, because almost all my properties are basically midterm rental, like specifically like our midterm rentals, and then we might accept short-term rentals in between vacancies. So we do exactly how you're talking about, Lorraine. And so there's a couple things to consider. So I'll usually have just like a 30-night minimum on all my listings. Now, say we have like a 2-month booking, 2-week vacancy, and then a 2-month booking. right? You got those 2 weeks in the middle that you got to get, you want to get booked. So I'll open up those 2 weeks that are vacant for, like I'll reduce the minimum nightly stay. Maybe I might do either like a 7-night minimum stay or a 10-night minimum stay. I'll usually probably start with something like a 10-night minimum stay, but I'll price it very affordably, basically, like super competitively, because I'm looking for a very specific like booking. Like there's only a 14-day window, it needs to be minimum 10 days. And so I'm pricing it pretty affordable so that I can get that place filled and booked for those dates. As that dates get closer, if I still have that 2 weeks vacant, I might reduce the minimum nightly stay. So instead of doing a 10-day minimum, I'll do like a 7-day minimum. So as it gets closer, so that I'm like at least getting at least 7 of those days booked. Right?
Yeah. Another thing on that too is you can Google like Sean Rocky G's like rule sets if you want to learn about those on Airbnb. But like, so you have that 2-week window, have it be a 2-night minimum, so that you're optimizing for short term, but have it be like a higher price. Say it's like $500 a night, but you can rule set those dates where if someone books 7 nights, it's going to be a 10% discount. If they book 8 nights, it's going to be a 15%. 2 weeks, it's going to be a 30%. So it's kind of like you're trying to get that 2-week stay in there at a really attractive rate that works for you, but you're still optimizing for short term, allowing people to book the short term, but it's going to be at a premium so that you're not getting a short term stay like during that thing really cheap. And
if you get a short term stay, if you get it, they're really paying.
That's what you want to, and that's what the whole far out strategy too is, that you want to make sure those far out dates, if you are doing it, have it be super high for short term, but have it be a really nice discount for more midterm stays, so that you're kind of penalizing the short term guests for booking that far out if they're going to screw up your calendar, because that kills your calendar, right? If you get a 2-night stay 3 months away, you're not going to be able to optimize for midterms, especially if these companies are going to find you on Airbnb. They're going to look for their dates and they're going to see you have a 2-night stay in the middle of when they need it, and they're not going to call you. So that's super important to keep in mind.
Yeah. So, and Sean Rakaji is a pretty good resource on YouTube for pricing strategy. I'm sure if you type in Sean Rakaji pricing strategy, you can find some of his YouTube videos are pretty good. Taylor Thompson asks, how did you build out a training program for your VAs to go through, specifically a website or program I am looking to use for our 18 units?
Yeah. So there's no easy way to do it. It sucks. You just kind of have to do it. So we used Notion and we built everything out on Notion. So we had like all of our systems in place on like everything that we do, like for every reservation, all like the property onboarding, all that stuff is there. And then we created SOPs on that for them to follow. But really it was just like a day-by-day training. Like the biggest thing is finding a VA that has worked for Airbnb, because that's 50% of the training, right? If you just grab a VA that has never even worked for Airbnb or know anything about it, it's just so much more work. So by getting them on Airbnb, giving like a previous Airbnb employee, they know all the policies, they know everything about the platform, they know how to communicate with guests, which is super important. At the end of the day, like as long as they can like communicate with guests, that's like half the battle. And then you just start to train them on like your system. So like say you're using, I don't know, HostAway, and it's like creating a listing. All right, next time you create a listing, use loom.com, and it just screen records your screen, and it's a training, right? So you can just go through it and create a video of like what you're doing step by step on how to create a listing, and then put it on Notion, document it, or wherever you have, even like Google Docs for now, just use Google Docs, put it here, how to create a listing, and now it's a video. So next time you create a listing, have the VA watch you do it. And then the next time you do it, have the VA do it and you watch them to make sure that's done right. And then the third time they can do it themselves. And so it's just like a long process. And I think people have to understand like at least 6 months before you feel comfortable like not viewing what they're doing. And then, after like a year, like, all right, things are pretty solid. But it's just a lot. And so I think it's overwhelming, and just focus on like, what do you need first? Like do like a time study of like, what do you spend your most time on? It's probably guest communication. All right, let's just focus on getting them trained on guest communication and all the documentation about the property, so they have the resources of how to answer questions. Like just focus on that for the next month. And then the next month, all right, creating a listing. Next month this. So I think just kind of chunk it down, but prioritize what do you need first. Because training a VA and how to think about it. Christian, me, we've all been doing this 3-5 years. Like the knowledge that we have, you can't teach someone, expect them to learn it in 6 months. Like it took us 3 years to learn it. So just kind of focus on where you started and how like go in that same progression. So that's what I would recommend. So
I couldn't say it any better.
yeah.
Personally, I use Monday.com as opposed to Notion. They're both, I'm sure, both great. Both.
I love Monday. I wanted to. It's just the company we were using that helped us do some of the stuff. They use LinkedIn for the training, but Monday's awesome. So I'd recommend
they're both great. And I do have a Monday template that I offer as well. So Taylor, later I can actually send that out to you, my Monday template that I use, that I created. Taylor also asked, are your VAs W-2 or how do you handle that? Also, how do you pay them?
So VAs, they're not really, I mean, they're full-time. They're in the,
but they're not W-2. There's mine is it's oh shit.
It's kind of like,
there's a specific, it's like a 10 something. It's not 1099, but it's a specific thing for out of country.
Yeah, my accountant. But to answer your question, they're full-time. So they work like my shift.
How do you pay? I pay mine with Payoneer. I don't know.
I use Wise.
Wise is a good one. Wise is especially for the Philippines.
Yeah, for the Philippines, I use Wise. It's not too expensive, like on the exchange rate, like the fee that they charge you. Easy to use.
I use Wise. It's easy. I use Payoneer now because my new VA is from Argentina.
Yeah, and then I just track their time on, it's called When I Work, where they can kind of clock in and out and submit time off. But on Monday, you could just do that too. But yeah, I schedule them Monday through Sunday, so it's 7 days a week, and then like Sunday through Wednesday is 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and then Thursday to Saturday is 9 a.m. to midnight. That's what we found is best for us. As we scale, we'll probably just turn that to 24/7, just to have someone always on. But like, if there's something in the middle of the night, like my area manager will answer the open phone, which is nice that like our phone number everyone can answer. So you can always kind of like start them off, do like 4 hours a week, start slow, and then increase them if you're just starting with it.
So are you doing like one person is working a 12-hour shift?
Yeah, so the 12-hour shifts, it's one person, and then on the Thursday to Saturday, they split 8s. I think they would prefer going to 10s on that 12-hour day. So I think we're going to add a third VA and start to dice that up a little bit more for them, which is also important. I want to talk about that is like your virtual assistants are human beings. At the end of the day, I think some people forget that they're like robots or something and they can do everything. Like, you know, they have families, they have problems. Like, really make it a good work environment for them. Like, give them time. Like, we pay their like healthcare, we give them time off, we try to build them up and find out what their goals are and like ask them for their opinions on things. Like, I like wanted to make sure like, hey, this is how we're doing things. If you don't like it, like, give me a solution of how you want it done. And then ask them, like, they were telling me the 12 hours is too much. Okay, we'll try to go to 10. Like, it's important. If they feel like that you care for them, respect them, you're gonna go so much further versus just trying to burn them out, being like, hey, you're working 18-hour shifts every day. Like, no one's gonna stay.
Yeah, no, seriously. And I try to do the same with my assistants, like give them like some sort of autonomy over their position.
Super important.
Yeah, like if there's something in the process that they don't like or they think they can streamline it or make it easier for them, like, dude, I'm all about it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you need to have that. I think when you lose that autonomy, that's when you get motivated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Taylor asked, how did you do your interview process for your VA?
Yeah, so I use like a sourcing company. I think that's the best way to do it, is have a company that has like a pool of virtual assistants that you're looking for. What is it? BetterHelp is one that people have been talking about. I haven't explored that. I think they're a little bit more expensive, but there's a ton of companies out there that you can use that will source VAs for you. You can also do like we did Upwork. I think you use that one off of Upwork, Christians. You can use Upwork, onlinejobs.ph to find them. And then the biggest one is making sure they have an Airbnb experience, and then just kind of asking them interview questions based on like what is important to you and your business. Like for me, my biggest one is being resourceful. So I wanted to make sure that like I was asking questions that they would answer that demonstrated their resourcefulness. Like saying like, it's in the middle of the night and your SOP doesn't have the answer for this problem. Like, what do you do? And like, if the VA was like, we'll wait till the morning to figure it out or something, like I want to know the VA that's going to like mine we had an issue in the middle of the night. She was like on Google, like Googling like what to do. She was like calling a handyman for advice. Like you need that resourcefulness in this business because they can't be reliant on you. And if you have someone that's just always going to be asking you questions, it's not worth it. You're going to be spending so much time with them. So just having someone that's really resourceful and trying to kind of,
that for me is huge. Yeah, that's huge for me as well. My newest VA, because I had a VA that was with me for about 8 months. We ended up letting her go, and I just hired a new one about 2 months ago. Our new guy, he's really great with like ChatGPT, and he'll like Google stuff if he can't if I don't have an SOP in place for it, like he can go out and kind of find that answer for us.
Yeah, that's huge.
That for me is huge.
Yeah.
Lorraine asked, Christian, do you do that manually or via Price Labs? I actually don't use Price Labs. I do it manually. Price Labs is probably worth it to do Price Labs for most people. But again, I don't do enough short terms, I feel, to justify paying for Price Labs. And I feel like I kind of have a good enough pulse of the market. Like I usually just kind of know what to price. And I'll just like literally I'll look real quick at other Airbnbs in the area for specific dates, and from there just be able to price stuff real quick. But it's probably for most people worth it to get Price Labs. Does Price Labs, you pay per listing, right? Because
yeah, but to your point, I don't use Price Labs for a property that I'm doing strictly midterm. I don't think it's worth paying for it. I just price it based on the month, and then if there's those gaps, I just go in and I'll rule set it for these 2 weeks to open it up. So I don't think you need to. You can if you want to spend the money on it. If you're doing like the short STR hybrid model, then yeah, definitely have Price Labs.
Definitely, yeah. If you're doing the short term, definitely.
Yeah.
But for me, like I prioritize midterm, so I do like a flat rate monthly pricing. It's X amount of dollars like per month, so it's a very super simple like pricing strategy. Yeah. Taylor asked for Notion. Is it mostly training videos that they go through?
Where is it for Notion? Is it for Notion? I mean, it's mainly, there's videos on there. There's like SOP documentations. There's things like that. Resources. So like we can create like our discount policy, which that's a big one. Like we have an SOP called how to keep a guest happy. And it's like steps to keep a guest happy when they're having issues and what our discount policy and stuff like that. So that's a good one of like creating those documents so that they have like a guideline of what they can do versus like, I was never of the believer of like, if you have X problem, give Y solution. It's always like check the temperature of the guest. Because the way I explain it is like one time we had like a mouse run through one of our houses. And like if I had an SOP that said anytime you have a mouse, give a 50% refund, it wouldn't make sense because we always say temperature check that guest. And we called the guest and she's like, oh, I'm from Iowa. We get mice all the time. You got one that just ran by. No big deal. And it's like that person didn't need a 50% refund. We maybe gave him like $50 to go grab breakfast on us for the inconvenience. But like having like a policy that the VA can work within based on like them thinking for themselves, I think is important. That goes back to that resourcefulness. But to answer your question, there's videos. So we throw our Loom video links in there, SOPs, documents, all that stuff is in there. And I think he had another question.
I love that, the temperature check.
Yeah, that's what the first one is, always a temperature check. So like, because people can kind of be pretty nasty when they're messaging, when they're hiding behind a computer, as we've seen with Twitter. And so I always tell the VAs to call them because once you like get them on the phone, it's just like a different experience. They're not as nasty sometimes, or you can at least get an idea of how upset they are. And then, we have like if it's offer this, and then if they're not happy with this, offer this. And based on the temperature check, if someone's really mad, it's like, all right, we're not going to give them a 10% future stay discount because they're not going to accept that. All right, move on to B. So kind of like allows them to understand the situation and then offer what solution they think is going to be best for the guest.
That's good. Yeah, Taylor asked, did you do a Zoom/video interview for your VA?
Yeah, we did like a Zoom, but definitely do like a video interview, just to kind of face-to-face, also make sure that they are on time, have good internet connection, because that's a big one to make sure of.
And Ryan asks, is your area manager a co-host paid per project or on commission?
So she started out as like a runner, which I'd recommend everyone getting like a runner when you first start out. So she started out as a runner, where it was just like whenever I needed her, if she was available, I would hit her up like, hey, can you do this for me today? She would go bill her hours and then I would pay her. And then as we got busier and busier, now like she's working like part-time, and then summer will be like full-time. But she just tracks her hours essentially when she is doing something. So if she's going to a property, she's tracking her hours, and then we call them soft hours. So if she's like calling a vendor, dealing with the VA, it's a little harder to track, but she still has to track that stuff or at least estimate it. So it's on like an hourly contractor type situation. So it's not on commission. I mean, I think as you scale, that's something you could consider, turning them into like an ops manager type thing and giving them commission on the growth. But no, you can just pay them hourly essentially for when you need stuff, or like work something out with your person. Like, hey, if they're going to go to a property for something, it's like, it's always going to be $30. And if they spend more than an hour, then it's 60 or whatever. So yeah, I would just recommend start with a runner and then see if you can groom them into an area manager.
Yeah. So the way I have a like, he's like a runner / handyman. He's a handyman and he does like running for me as well. The way we do it is I pay him the same amount every month. I pay him like a monthly whatever amount for up to 20 hours of work per month. So he's not it's not that much work, but it's 20 hours per month. And so we track his hours. If he's under 20 hours, he still makes that same amount, that guaranteed amount. If he goes over the 20 hours, then we pay him an additional amount based like hourly. Based on hourly. So he has like, and it's worked out really well. He very rarely goes over the 20 hours. We've only gone over the 20 hours maybe once or twice. But it's worked out really well because it's just like, we have someone, he takes care of all those like little issues when you need someone to run to the property, and I kind of know every month what my
expenses are.
My cost is going to be. It's going to be the same amount for the most part every month, and so that's
that's super. So we did that with our area manager last summer. We did like 90 hours a month, but then we switched to like the hourly just because like in the slow season there's nowhere close to that to pay that amount. But that strategy is phenomenal because some months they might not work the whole 90, which is fine because some months they're going to work more, or those 90 hours that they do work are going to be horrible. It's going to be, they're going to be up late at night handling like a party or what have you. And having those like gaps for like your handyman.
You're going to win some and lose some.
Yeah. So he knows like some months are going to be crazy and some are going to be chill, and it kind of balances it out. So having a structure like Christian's is super important.
Yeah. Cool. All right, guys, we're already way over time. It's 1:55. So thank you all so much for hopping on this call. Mark, thank you so much for hopping on and sharing all this valuable information and all your knowledge and experience. It was truly a pleasure to have you on. Thank you guys again for being here, and I will see you all next week. Peace out. Take care.
Thanks for having me. See you guys.